you don't see the ball like you see it from the stands, where you see the quarterback drop back, you see the ball coming out of his hands. All of a sudden, you're looking back and you see this blur of people smashing into each other. And remember, these linemen, even back then, were really tall. So it's not like you can see anything. You're just looking back. And then all of a sudden, you see this thing pop in the air. You don't see it coming off his hand. You see it pop in the air. And then really, and I don't know how the brain does this, but within a second or two, you got to judge how far that ball is going and where it's going, especially on a pass like that, which is pretty much over the middle. And I saw it, and I thought he had overthrown me. But I kept, I'm going to try. If nothing else, you got to look good for the fans. But I'm going to try to catch it. And then at the last second, literally at the last second, I leaped.
Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Meldon Law Studios at the Hacienda. Okay, and welcome into another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging and coming to you from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. Great show for you today. My friend Carlos Alvarez will be joining us. We always try to get him on about once a year and just talk about the state of college football, the state of Florida football. Of course, Carlos, a member of the every Hall of Fame just about that there is. He's in the Florida Hall of Fame. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame. He's in the Academic Hall of Fame. He's done it all. And then Coach Spurrier back on Monday. That's always great to have. And then on next Thursday, Eric Rhett's going to join us. I can't wait for that. We talked for about 30 minutes yesterday, or not yesterday, but a couple days ago. And I said, save this for the podcast, man. It was really funny stuff. He was talking about different things. Anyway, we'll get to that later when we have Eric Rhett on next week. All right. It is time for us right now to get to our Money Medals starting five. MoneyMedals.com is your home for gold and silver purchases, one of the largest distributors in all the United States. 2 Gator grads are running it, and you can reach them at 1-800-800-1865 or at MoneyMedals.com. Okay, and we wanted to mention once again that they are about to have these pure silver Gator coins available. When they do, we'll let you know for sure, and they're going to send me one so I can show it to you what it looks like. It's pretty cool. Let us get to our Money Medals starting five, and we'll start off with baseball today. And because Florida didn't lose a midweek game. Hallelujah. Let's have a party. We should have a parade for that. I'm just kidding and giving Sully a little bit of a hard time there, but obviously they were able to handle North Florida on Tuesday night. And now it's set up. It's you've got 6 games left for the regular season, whatever you do in the SEC, and I was thinking about this today. College baseball, like Major League Baseball, is a grind. I always love Robbie's joke about it. Major League Baseball is the only sport where you can play 162 games and gain weight. But it is a grind. Mentally, it is really a grind. Physically, it's tough, but it's not as tough as football to me. But so anyway, it's a grind. But at the end of the day, you're going to be defined by what you do down the stretch. That is what you are going to be defined as a player, as a team, as a teammate, as a coach. What do you do down the stretch? Well, here we are. We're at the stretch. We have rounded the last turn, and we are coming in. And we got horses vying for look, Florida's not going to win the SEC this year, and they've won it many times under Sully, and we know that. They're not going to win it this year. But let's see how they finish, because it's doable to go 5-1, I think, down the stretch. You know me, I don't like to look too far ahead, but okay, let's look at that. And what would that do? I don't think Florida can sneak into the top 8, unless they just won out and then won the SEC tournament or something like that. Maybe there's a combination they could. But the bottom line is there's just too many bad losses, as we talked about last week, or Monday, I guess it was, 3 quad 4 losses. That's bad. They've got more quad 1 wins than anybody. So that's good. They're a weird team, as we know, all year. And we'll see what the good news for Florida is. According to Sully, Cash Strayer and Jackson Barbary will be back for the series this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to have to do some negotiations on the Sunday noon game. It's Mother's Day. My wife, I got her tickets from my good buddy Brian Kornblau. Got us really nice club seats. We invited another couple to come. They were all for it, but she's got something at 11:15, so I don't know. That may not work out, but we'll see. And I also told her, I said, if they lose the first two games, I'm not going to the third game. But I still may go. I love going to the games, and hey, it could be your last chance to see them play on Sunday. You don't know that, and I doubt it. I think they're going to be a host for the first round. I'm sure they'll send some state teams here and everything like they always do, and then like Stanford or somebody really weird. But we'll see what happens. So baseball, certainly a big weekend for them. Every weekend's big from now on. There's no doubt about it. Big weekend this weekend, big weekend next weekend when they go to LSU. And as bad as LSU's been, they seem to have maybe righted the ship a little bit. Of course, they were playing South Carolina, so but we'll see what happens there. And then you got the SEC tournament. So look, this is where you're defined. Now I don't want to say you're defined as a human being. And I've always said that when somebody says that doesn't define me, let's just say somebody, and I'm not going to give you a name, just a person said, well, yeah, I know that I beat up this girl, but that doesn't define me as a person. Well, it is part of the definition. It doesn't, and nothing defines you completely, I think that your life is a bunch of definitions that come to roost. So anyway, I'm getting a little philosophical here. That's probably not a good idea. Let's move along. Our Money Medals starting five to softball. And here's the weird thing about today. As we're doing the show, softball's warming up on the field. They're getting ready to play Auburn in Kentucky in the SEC tournament. So there's not much point of me going into detail about what I think about the Florida softball game, because by the time most of you watch this, it will be be over. So you're going to say Dooley was way wrong on that. But look, Auburn beat Texas A&M yesterday, 10-8 slugfest. And remember, Auburn had not scored and was losing in its first game until I think the sixth or the seventh inning. They hit a bunch of home runs, maybe some in the sixth, some in the seventh, and then they went nuts again yesterday. They're scoring a lot of runs. And right now we want to make sure, and I'm pretty confident that it happened. There was some outfield drills done over at the Katie Seashore Presley Stadium, getting ready to go up to Kentucky, because defense was an issue last weekend, and it usually is never an issue. And hopefully they got it all resolved, and they go and play a clean game, and they'll be fine. Auburn is a very low seed. In fact, the 5 and the 6 seeds have already been knocked out before we even get to the fun stuff, which is today when you have the top 4 seeds. 5 and 6 already beaten. So it's been an interesting tournament. I've watched a lot of it. Look, there hadn't been a whole lot to watch. And I got to be honest with you, I'm just having a hard time getting into the NBA playoffs this year because I don't have any skin in the game. 9:30 starts are not going to win me over, sorry, on Prime. That's not happening, okay? And you're going to find out there's a lot more games on Prime as we go forward. But let's see what Gator softball does. We'll be watching all their games, I know. That's my plan today. When we get done, just sit down and watch the softball game. Maybe play a little golf afterwards. But look forward to watching Tim Walton and his group. Don't forget, this is a team with a great record. They're going to be a host. They're going to be a regional host and a super regional host, assuming they get through the regional. We'll see what happens. All right, let us get to number 3 on our moneymedals.com starting 5, and it is this thing that's going on with football. I keep telling myself, Pat, don't you remember when Billy Napier came here and Billy Napier said, and started getting all these guys to visit that normally wouldn't visit. You know, they were doing a great job at recruiting. They were getting a lot of good players. They were, it was going really well, and now it's going well with Summerall. I mean, it's really going well. They're recruiting the trenches. Now they've got 3 top 150 offensive linemen. That hasn't happened. I think somebody had a stat about this. It hadn't happened since 2006. You know what that team was able to do, and what they did 2 years later after that 2006. That was a Tebow Harvin class, Spikes class, but they also signed a bunch of great offensive linemen. And then you hear Napier say this thing. He's been going on all these radio shows and everything saying, well, we got to Florida, it was broken. And I'm like, why does Florida, everybody who, maybe this happens everywhere, but why does everybody who takes over the Florida job say, well, it's broken? You know who didn't say that? Steve Spurrier. You know who didn't say that? Urban Meyer. The 2 greatest coaches in Florida history. They didn't say anything was broken. They said, we're going to change some things. We're going to toughen this team up. They're going to find out I'm not a player's coach. That was Urban's way. With Coach Spurrier, we got to change the attitude, but it's not broken. We know there are great players. There are great athletes in this state. A lot of them are playing right here. We just got to get them straightened out, but it's not broken. But Will Muschamp comes in, program's broken. Urban Meyer told him it was broken, he said. Napier says, well, it was broken. It wasn't that broken. I mean, they were only a year away from playing for the SEC championship, a year behind them. It wasn't broken. Now, was recruiting broken? Yes, it was. It was a mess. That part of it, if you want to make it that's fine. But recruiting is certainly not broken right now. And Summerall and Phil Trautwein appear to be just doing wonderful things out there. Now, the bad news is none of those guys can play for Florida this year. In fact, my column for Patreon that I do on Wednesday and Friday, I do a 5 things thing on Patreon.com, and come be a member, man. We're putting a bunch of content up there as well. And also, don't forget Main Street News. I got my Main Street News Daily News shirt on. They gave me yesterday. It's a pretty cool shirt. I like it. And that's every Monday is when it comes out on, I think, on the newsletter, and then it comes in the paper on Wednesday. So I'm staying busy, having fun, enjoying it. Where was I? And I talked about teams that are getting too much helium, and too much helium means you're floating away, and everybody likes to see the red balloon up there floating, but it's easily popped, and when you take the air out, you talk like Minnie Mouse, right? Okay. Oxygen and helium are 2 different things. A lot of programs have oxygen right now. I think Oregon's one. I think Ohio State's one. But there are a lot of teams and a lot of them in the SEC that have a lot of helium. See, I don't know about LSU, but anyway, the point, I just don't know whether he's going to work the magic there and they're going to be in the playoffs and do some special things, or he's just going to implode like he always does. Anyway, we don't mention his name here. The point is, I think Florida was one of those teams I put in there because people are giving them a lot of love. Some of them have them ranked in the preseason rankings. I wouldn't have them in the top 25. And the reason is very simple. They don't know who their quarterback's going to be, right? Whoever it is going to have almost no experience as a college quarterback. Their offensive line looks like it's a mess. So right now, I know that they want to fix things, but, I don't know they're fixable. They're trying to fix them, but they're fixing them through recruiting. That's a 3-year process right there. You sign a guy to play the offensive line. The first year he might play some, or he might redshirt, and then in year 3 you hope he's ready to start playing, and then it's year 4 from that point. I mean, he'll be in his 3rd year when he might be really an elite athlete. There aren't too many of them that come in like Marquise Pouncey did. There just aren't that many. And step in right away and are really good, like Reggie Green did back in the olden days. Anyway, it's a roundabout way of saying thumbs up to John Summerall, Phil Trautwein, all the coaches, Katie Turner, everybody. They're doing a heck of a job. Florida is like in the top 7 or 8. Depends on which recruiting service you want to look at. And you still got to sign them, and they still got to show up, and then they may transfer after you. Look, we know that, but you still want to do well in recruiting. There's no question about that. All right, let's get to number 4 on our moneymetals.com starting 5, and that is we're going to turn to golf, my second favorite sport behind, well, it's my favorite sport to play. I don't play a lot of football, but good news for the Gators. They're number 1 seed, not surprising. They're going to Columbus, where there is some familiarity there. At least JC has some, because I think they were there in 17. Columbus, Ohio, for the regional up there. It's funny, they have, I did notice FSU is in their regional. Damn it. But I mean, FSU's a lower seed. Arizona State's also there, Stanford, Oklahoma State. Florida's a 1 seed. They're the best. They played really well. All you got to do is play well enough to get, I think it's the top 5, go to the finals in Carlsbad, California. We applaud them. And also the news that came out, which is not news, but it's news, that the county has approved all this 36-hole golf course out there kind of near Hale Plantation. And this is where the Gators are going to be. Now, we've asked this question for, I think it's been 8 years is when I first started hearing about this. And in fact, it was Brian Cornblaw. We were sitting there. Of course, he's a big booster. We were sitting there having a beer at Gator's Dockside, had a good time there, and just we're talking, and he was talking about the Bostic going away and building this course out there. Well, they're doing that. Now, they won't answer the question about what's going to happen with Bostic. I've heard different stories that they're going to leave 5 or 6 holes there, so they still have a place to go play quickly or practice or hit ball, stuff like that, and then sell the rest. I've heard the other stories that they're not going to sell any of it. They're going to keep it open for the students and faculty, and the players can go there and practice as well. And I've heard they're going to sell it all. Who knows what's true, because it's been hard to get real answers. And we're finally do have an answer, and the answer is a city with no golf courses hardly is about to have 36 holes. That is exciting. Now, access to it, we'll have to find out about that, if we're going to be able to play it, if we're going to be able to afford it, things like that. Questions that you always ask yourself. But it is something they had to do, because, and this is Fred Ridley and Gator Boosters are doing this. They're all in on this to help the University of Florida get elite. They're already an elite golf program, and that's the amazing thing. Is it JC has put together. He got the handoff from Buddy Alexander, and they're putting together a great program. But everybody is building. It's just like in football. Everybody's building these Taj Mahals. They're doing it in golf too. Alabama just unveiled theirs. It's unbelievable. There's a lot of places like that. Auburn's that way. Texas. Where they have all these unbelievable facilities, not just the golf course. And the golf course, look, as good as their golf course is, and it's always in great shape, they need a better course. And now they're going to get to them. So we're going to go up to 6 golf courses in Gainesville proper. Maybe the country club. I keep hearing rumors about the country club reopening, and they're building a course out. I think Tower Hill's building a course out in Alachua. I've heard that. I've been told that's true, but I don't. Maybe we're about to become a golf community, or maybe not. We'll see. Anyway, the good news for Florida golf, and again, that doesn't start till next Monday, not even this Monday. This Monday is when the women start. Next Monday, I believe, is when the men start. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. All right, and let's wrap it up with number 5 on our moneymetals.com starting 5. And we appreciate our friends at Money Metals so much. And I appreciate the good friends I've made through being a sports writer here for a long time. And am a sports writer again. Now, that's my thing. If you're a sports writer and you're writing for the web, are you still a sports writer? I don't know. I don't feel as much like one till you see it in print. So anyway, that's not the point. I want to give a public shout out to my friend Mary Howard, who does so many things for me. Just the nicest person in the world, takes care of me as far as helping me with tickets for gymnastics and stuff like that. She's just the best. And anytime I call her, She gives me the answers that I'm looking for. She gets me the interview set up that I'm looking for. Unless it's who was that track runner? Parker Falby? She didn't want to talk. Anyway, um, I get this. My wife comes home with something, and it's a note from Mary Howard, and she and her husband Steve were out and saw the Eagles at the Sphere. And they had a goodie bag they gave me, and one thing that was in it was Eagles picks for a guitar, and she sent them to me. And I was so happy. That just meant so much to me, to have somebody do something that nice for you. It touched my heart. I mean, look, I can go buy picks, but they don't say Eagles on them. I can tell you that. The point is, it was a very nice thing for her to do, and she's a good person, and they should treasure over there at the UAA, and I think they do. All right. That's going to do it for our first segment. We'll come back with segment number 2, and that will be Carlos Alvarez. We'll talk to him about college football and the Gators, and also do a yes, no, where, maybe with him, brought to you by Big Mill's Cheesesteak. I got a good story about going to Big Mill's yesterday, by the way. So we'll talk about that and more here on another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Give me 60 seconds and I'll show you why you should be buying silver and how to get started. Recent price spikes in groceries, healthcare, gasoline, steel, and lumber tell the story of inflation, as do raging bull markets in equities and housing. As the reality of all this inflation sinks in, investors will be acting quickly to diversify and protect themselves, their families, and their assets. That's why we're offering our Silver Starter Kit to help you get started in holding tangible wealth. This mix of our most recommended forms of silver includes 9 silver coins, totaling 4 troy ounces of fine silver. These pure silver coins have a low bid-ask spread, the difference between the price you pay to buy and the price you receive to sell. Low transaction costs are one reason Investopedia calls Money Metals the best dealer in America. Don't waste any more time. Start protecting your savings today with physical precious metals at moneymetals.com/go.
By now, you heard about the Florida Legends Experience in Gala, featuring Gator Heisman greats Tim Tebow, Danny Warfel, and Steve Spurrier, all in one place at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Imagine catching a pass or taking a handoff from a Heisman winner, all while supporting Isaiah 117 to help provide safe, loving homes for children in need. Then enjoy an unforgettable evening at the Gala, filled with great food and lasting memories. Don't miss this historic event. Find out how you and your business can get involved at fllegends.com. That's fllegends.com.
All right, it may be a new year, but it doesn't mean you have to back off any of your goals as far as losing weight. I know I've been working even harder on it, and of course I get an assist from BMI TeleMed. They help us out with our New Year's resolutions, even if I've already broken 2 of them. Not the food ones, though. Weight loss is your goal. Get with BMI TeleMed. They use GLP-1 medications, and they are individualized. And that's the great thing. I've been through this, and Charlie, just talking to him, it was so great to make him understand, and he understood what I was doing. It's not about just losing weight. It is about keeping it off. You know that. We're all excited about the new year, and we're going to lose weight. But when you lose it in the first month, then you got to keep going. BMI TeleMed is sensible. It's straightforward. It's affordable. No contracts or hidden costs. BMI TeleMed is donating $1 for every pound you lose to the Florida Victorious Foundation. So go Gators. I'll join the listeners on this podcast who've already lost over 600 pounds. Are you kidding me? I'm 60 of them right there. All right, contact BMI TeleMed today at 727-383-1677. Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. It is a great pleasure to bring on my good friend, Hall of Famer, and I mean, how many Hall of Fames are you in, Carlos?
I don't know.
I know how many I'm in. 0.
I mean, obviously the 2 that I love are the College Football Hall of Fame and the University of Florida Athletic Hall of Fame. Yeah, it's been a nice ride.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to talk to you a lot about what's going on with college football and what's going on with Florida right now. I mean, I don't think you and I would ever have seen the day where Florida would would lose 37 out of 66 games, but that's what they've done their last 66, or 29-37. We thought we were past all that, and now it just, hopefully they got the right guy in here to straighten that out.
Yeah. I mean, it is extremely surprising. I hadn't even done this calculation, but because we were going to do this, I kind of looked up, how many coaches we have had since Ray Graves back in the 60s, and it's pretty unbelievable. It's something like 17. I forget exact number, but it's right around there, averaging about 4.4 years per coach. So it's been kind of a wild ride, but we certainly thought that after Steve Spurrier's era at University of Florida, his coaching era, that we wouldn't be in this kind of a situation.
No.
So it's sad.
It is sad, and I think it's frustrating. And look, they've sold out 18 straight games, so it's not like the fans are just saying, "Hey, just give us some wins, just win some games. That's all we want." In fact, I know when John Summerall was introduced, he made a comment, and Spurrier just said, "Just win some games." So I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, you can do all you, and I appreciate a lot of the stuff Billy Napier did with Gator made and getting these guys to do stuff at Habitat for Humanity and all that. That's all important, but you got to win. If you don't win, you're out. That's the bottom line.
No, that's the number one thing. I mean, think of Steve. Obviously I'm very fond of him. Not only a great coach, but a great friend. What the product, if we want to call it that he put on the field was exciting. I mean, it was just exciting. Balls being thrown. I mean, wonderful offense. But if he had been losing, even putting that kind of a wonderful product on the line, it wouldn't have worked. So you gotta put it all together. You gotta win. The product, it'd be nice if it'd be kind of a Steve Spurrier product, but you got to win is the number one criteria. And that should be our expectations. So,
and to win, you have to have money for NIL. And it seems like, and I know that I cannot imagine how much money you would have made after your sophomore season at Florida in NIL money if it was alive then. But it does
make me cry.
Pardon me?
Don't make me cry.
It would have been pretty impressive. But it seems like now Florida, they're coming in with this money. I mean, the basketball, there's no doubt that they're a 20-something million dollar roster now. Football, absolutely. They're getting all these recruits that are 5 stars and everything. There has to be money behind that, it. So it is the way of the world, and we have to live with it.
Yeah, and I have to admit, I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. Because I wasn't from an era that had that. So, they had that jealousy in the locker room. Like, why is this guy making $1 million or $2 million and I'm making a couple of $100,000, which would have been fine. but there was a jealousy that no, I should be making more. And am I gonna, and I don't think somebody would verbalize this in this way. Am I gonna make that block, or am I gonna make that run or whatever, given the situation I'm in? But that kind of a, just even thinking that could be possible has to be a difficult thing for a team and teammates. So I think when you're winning, if somehow you put it together and you're winning, everything seems to flow. But if you're not at that level where you're winning all the time, and you're not going to have that flow, and then you're going to have a lot of problems with the NIL thing. People are going to I think players are it's going to be divisive, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And then you add in the other thing, that element that we have to deal with now, where you're getting gambling shoved down your throat if you're a student athlete all the time. I mean, you can't look at your phone without being said, "Hey, bet on this." And of course, we see with Brendan Sorsby the problem he's gotten into. I don't know that he'll ever play college football again. I don't think that's the last one where we find out these guys are betting on, and they're betting on things like balls and strikes because that's what the gambling has done. You know, it's once you get into it, you're going to bet on anything.
That is amazing. I mean, that is amazing. It's something that I haven't followed very much, the gambling end of it. Of course, I've read about it. But another divisive thing that comes into college football, it makes it very difficult. And as we talk about this, what is the solution? I mean, I think people like you or me who have been involved with the game for a long time see this as a huge issue. It's almost like a cancer that's going to grow. And how do we stop it? And I don't really have a really good answer to that. In some ways, the old days, my days, that seemed a bit unfair in terms of what athletes should be getting. And as you know, I spoke out against it at the time, got into a lot of trouble and stuff like that. But that seemed unfair. This seems undoable. So there's got to be, something should be done. And I think probably the best thing that could be done is the NCAA setting up a committee of about 15 people, giving them a good staff and thinking through these issues of the future of college football. What does that look like? When I was I went to law school at Duke, as you know, and I was there the last 2 years. I did research work for Professor John Wiestard, who wrote in his book, The Law of Sports. And he knew, of course, my playing at Florida. He thought I would be interested in it. And he was a brilliant professor. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot doing research for him, including, and I forget exactly the dates on this stuff, but a Carnegie Foundation report on college football that was done like in the 1905. It was very early on, and basically predicting that the fact that scholarships were being given, because before then, I forget the dates, so don't get me on the dates, but before then, no scholarships were given for athletic performance, that the starting of giving of scholarships was going to ruin college football, or eventually, because it would be a progression. It would keep on going. And I thought when I read the report, it just shocked me, because up to that point the prediction seemed pretty good, and now it's it's in all cylinders that it's on it. And again, I think people can spout you should do this, you should do that, but it's got to be a global kind of a solution. It's got to be really brought by, I think, the only organization, the NCAA, to really put a group together to think this through and fund them correctly with a good staff that can look at all the different angles that this takes.
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe we can consider you the father of NIL, since you got in trouble for speaking up back in the olden days, back when you had that full head of hair.
I know. I'd give it all for that.
But it was certainly a fun time around here when you were playing, and I know you enjoyed it. I was going to ask you this question: did you ever think about this? And again, I think about things how they are now and how they were then. But did you, like, if you were playing now, they would try to get you to stay because they would give you the number 1 or the number, whatever number you wanted. Did you ever think about that? Because you were 45, which isn't a wide receiver number.
No, I always wanted 45. And the reason I wanted 45, and again, it's so many years ago, it's kind of funny, but I believe it was a New York Giants receiver that was 45, and all he did was catch streak patterns. I mean, he was just, I don't think he ever ran a curl route or something like that, or an out route. It just seems like every time I saw it on TV, and back then you got to see him maybe on Sunday. This guy was amazing, and gosh, I wish I could think of his name, but I can't. But that's why I always thought of him. I always wanted to be like him, and so that's why I asked for 45. I was in high school. I was 41, but that was just given to me. But since I had the opportunity at Florida to get that number because nobody else was using it, that's the one I wanted.
At what point in your life did you feel comfortable speaking English?
What's interesting is I came here when I was 10. I went into 5th grade. Now, at my age, you can forget a lot of things, as you know.
I'm well aware, yeah.
But I will never, ever forget the teacher I had in 5th grade, Mrs. Schmalik. And Mrs. Schmalik, I came into the classroom. It was a Catholic school, St. James Elementary. And no one spoke Spanish. So I went in. I actually lined up because you line up in rows before classes start. I lined up in some row because I didn't know what row to line up in. I just lined up in some row, and then after I went into the classroom, the teacher had to walk me all the way to Mrs. Smarlick's class and sat me down, and it was a godsend to me because here was a great teacher, a sensitive teacher, knowing that, okay, this kid doesn't know any English. And back then, it wasn't like common because the Cuban exodus was just beginning. And so what she did for me is she sat me down behind a student named Paul Armstrong. Now, incredible that I still remember all of this because it had such an impact on me, and told me, and had somebody else come from the outside who knew Spanish, and told her to tell me to do everything that Paul Armstrong did. So it just happened to be Paul Armstrong was the number 1 student in the class, and because of Alvarez, we were kind of sitting behind I was sitting behind him, and I did. For the first month and a half, anything that Paul Armstrong did, I did, including because I've talked to Mrs. Smiley since then, my putting the name Paul Armstrong in all my papers. So from that, it's being immersed in English, really. Because again, only my brothers and I, my two older brothers and I, spoke Spanish at the school. I would say within 3 months, 2 to 3 months, I could carry on a bit of a conversation. It was a great experience, and really owe it all to my parents being so intelligent and such great parents that they knew that this would be really hard for us. But this will get us over that hurdle almost right away. And it did. Sort of like the first day of school at St. James, I was expecting my parents to take us there and all that. They said, no, we lived about 10 blocks from it. They said, no, you guys ride your bike there. You'll handle it.
Oh, you had a bike. I had to walk to school.
We had a bike. That was the
10
number
miles
1 thing.
in the snow. In Gainesville.
And it was perfect too, because it was like 10 blocks towards the south, lived in North Miami, but towards the south was a St. James Elementary. And then unbeknownst to us, 10 blocks to the north was a boys club. And 10 blocks to the north, I started out, I remember, I started out playing baseball because that was my sport in Cuba, and played in the basketball team. And then, because we had played some basketball in Cuba, and then football started, and I decided I didn't want to do it. I just saw it and I didn't understand the game. And but a couple of the St. James students in my class talked me into trying out or going out and said, we'll show you and stuff like that. And so I did. I played 95-pound football, which is 95-pound and under, and ended up, because of the speed that I had, I ended up being the quarterback. Which is kind of funny because I didn't know the language really well, and nobody else spoke Spanish. But and that was the beginning of it all.
So you get in the huddle and you go, "Donde está biblioteca?" That's my only Spanish phrase that I know. So, I took 3 years of Spanish. So
well, Cinco de Mayo too.
That's
just
right.
happened. That you can add to your vocabulary.
We just celebrated that, yeah.
Yeah.
Carlos Alvarez, of course, Hall of Famer, coming to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line. I did want to ask you
Hey, Pat.
about
I wanted to mention to you guys. It was Homer Jones, I believe, was the New York Giants wide receiver that was.
Got it.
Oh, okay.
It was Homer Jones. That was exactly right. Homer Jones.
Homer Jones, yeah, I remember him. Back in the olden days. People don't understand how it was a miracle when you would get one NFL game on TV.
Right. Right.
We had no Thursday night football and Monday night football back in those days.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I did want to talk to you about coming here at Florida and all the success you guys had, especially that first year, your sophomore year. But, I was talking to Zach, our producer, about the catch you made against FSU, which I immortalized by getting it framed and selling it in our podcast. And how did you see the ball? Because the ball is coming right over the top of your head.
Well, I have it on my wall too here. It was a picture. That picture, which is the one that just holding the back end of the ball. That picture was taken by the Tallahassee Democrat.
Oh,
and which is interesting enough, and it appeared in the Tallahassee Democrat. And ultimately, I think the photographer sent me the picture itself, or my parents asked for it, because my parents, they used to come to every game, drive to Miami and then collect all the newspapers afterwards and stuff like that, and get real excited. It was really a lot of fun. So, in that day, it was a little bit drizzly, too. It was a little bit drizzly, and all I can tell you, because some of these things are so in the moment. If you're a good wide receiver, when I look back, which we were in a split left, and I was the receiver in the slot. So there was a wide receiver to my left, and then I was in the slot, and I did a post pattern, which is usually from that position. Most of the time you don't do that, but we saw a weakness in their defense at the time. Fred Pankos was a genius that we thought we could hit. But it required a hell of a pass by John Reeves, because he had to float it just enough over the defensive backs, and I think there were linebackers that were moving back. So one of the things that I think most people don't realize about wide receivers is that when you're out there, especially in the middle of the field, you don't see the ball like you see it from the stands, where you see the quarterback drop back, you see the ball coming out of his hands. All of a sudden, you're looking back and you see this blur of people smashing into each other. And remember, these linemen, even back then, were really tall, so it's not like you can see anything. You're just looking back, and then all of a sudden, you see this thing pop in the air. You don't see it coming off his hand. You see it pop in the air, and then really, and I don't know how the brain does this, but within a second or two, you got to judge how far that ball is going and where it's going, especially on a pass like that, which is pretty much over the middle. And I saw it, and I thought he had overthrown me. But I kept, I'm going to try. If nothing else, you got to look good for the fans. But I'm going to try to catch it. And then at the last second, literally at the last second, I leaped. And if you see it, it looks like it is an awkward leap. It's not like a leap if you're going straight downfield and the ball is out there and you just catch it with both of your hands. This is more of a kind of a post pattern leap that's a little bit awkward, and it's stuck. It's stuck in my hands, and it's stuck at the end.
That's with no stickum either, right?
Yeah, no stickum, because I didn't like stickum, because the stickum also would make the grass stick to you, and we didn't have gloves back then. But so I just wanted my hands and try to keep them as clean as possible. And it stuck, but it helped me that my momentum was going so much that if you see the kind of the series of pictures on it, I landed on my face, and that's going forward. I landed on my face, and because I had my hands curled, that ball slammed into my face mask. And but it held on, right? Because I wouldn't let go with the hands, and it slammed into my face, and I rolled, and it was sweet.
Yeah.
Because it was against FSU,
Yeah.
and it was a touchdown that we needed. It was 7-6 at the time, and we needed that to create a little bit of room, and I think we ultimately won 21-6.
That's right. That's exactly the right score. I see that's the thing. I can remember scores, but I can't remember what I did yesterday.
Yes.
That's and I keep talking to my doctor about it, and he goes, "That's just getting old." I go, "Well, can't we stop it?" But they have not been able to so far. All right, Carlos, it is time for us to play the game we love to play. Yes, no way, or maybe. Brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteaks, street dining done the right way. I was in there yesterday, actually, and had a great hamburger there. They have a great smash burger. You get free fries with the order if you mention that you listen to Carlos Alvarez on another Dooley Noted podcast. So, and I did get free fries with my order. I want that on the record.
All right.
All right, Carlos, you have ever been confused with Carlos Alvarez?
Yes.
And what? Because I can tell you this. One day there was something that came on the screen. I'm kind of glancing at it, and it was about Carlos Alvarez, who I wasn't familiar with. And I went, "Oh my God, what happened? Did Carlos Alvarez die?" Turned out you're okay. What have you been confused with him?
I've had at the Gator Club somebody call me that,
Oh,
and I said, no, that's the wrong last name.
it's not the Grand Slam winner. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's no big deal to me,
All right, number 2 on Yes, No, Where, Maybe with Carlos Alvarez. You were more nervous leaving Cuba than you were lining up on that third down play against Houston.
I say it's a tie. Do I have to pick one or the other?
No, if it's a tie, it's a tie.
It's a tie. I wasn't nervous in either.
Oh, okay.
because leaving Cuba, I was 10 years old, and we had my dad was a lawyer in Cuba, and he was a lawyer for basically his own law firm. They had 2 or 3 lawyers, but he was in a shipping business, so he was used to traveling and all of that. He made it look to us like we had traveled to the U.S. a couple of times just to visit. We had 2 aunts here, and so he made it look to us like it's just another trip. Remember, I was 10. So to me, although it looked a lot different than the other trips, because all kinds of furniture had been moved into the house in Cuba, and things looked a lot different. But he made it look to us like, no, it's just another trip to the U.S. So so that was that. And really, when I lined up against Houston for that pass, which Fred Pankos, the offensive coordinator, had told John and I, that's the third play of the game, before we left the locker room. And I wasn't nervous at all. And I can tell you, as much as I miss him, that John wasn't nervous either. We had run that route thousands of times. John and I love to practice. I just didn't have any doubts that we would do it. I don't know. I don't know why. It's really stupid to think that, your first game, the third play of the game against the number one team in the nation by many of the polls, that you're going to catch this pass. And it never dawned on me. And I think part of it, there's a lot of parts to that, but one of them is the incredible senior leadership that we had in that team. And the fact that in that locker room before we left, they made it sound like we would never lose this game. We would all, we had the Gene Ellenson mentality of World War II. We're never going to lose this game. And I just felt we're going to do it. And so obviously the Houston defensive back never expected.
No, clearly, since he was 20 yards behind you. You're right.
Yeah, and the safety, they had this cover two, and what we now call cover two, and the safety just had, I don't know what he was. I think he was playing the run, so he came in a little bit, and by that point it was too late. And I mean, what a perfect pass from John. I mean, hits me in stride, and they weren't going to catch me from behind. I'll tell you that. You know why? Because I never would have lived it down. That's what I was thinking as soon as I caught it. Like when I caught it, I knew I was going to catch it. There was never any like, oh, make sure you catch it. No, I'm going to catch this. My biggest concern is don't get caught from behind because it looks bad. I don't know why.
It would look bad on film too.
Yeah, it looked bad. So I caught it. And if you see the film, you'll see that I'm running full speed. I almost step out of bounds.
Oh.
I come about a foot. In fact, Coach Infanti was then, when we were watching the film on Sunday, I said, what were you thinking? You almost went out of bounds. And I said, I was just trying to run as fast as I could, and I wasn't really paying attention. So that was that. And then getting hugs from all my teammates that, some of those linemen ran faster than I did, I think, to get to the end. That was really cool.
It's funny because you and I both made our big moves at 10 years old. I moved from Gainesville to St. Augustine. My parents moved over there.
Oh.
But I will say this. You said you had no doubt you were going to catch it. I asked my dad if we were going to go to the game on Friday, and he said, no, I don't think we're going to go. And so Robbie Andrew, who asked me, goes, Mr. Dooley goes, what do you think the chances are Florida's going to win? And Dad said, there are two chances, nil and none. And I'm like, okay. So I don't even know if I need to listen to this game. They're not going to win. And meanwhile, it's 59-34. So
yeah, Pat, and I know that was the opinion at the time that it was just going to be a bad year for the Gators. A lot of sophomores starting,
right.
But really, a lot of people don't realize how the players that are out there, their skill level is important, but also important, especially in football, is the chemistry between the players. And here we have the chemistry of a senior leadership. And a lot of seniors started like in the offensive line
right.
and the defense, a senior leadership that was absolutely superb with a sophomore class that matched up really well the weak points that senior class had with a bunch of juniors that like Mike Kelly that were just superb, and it's putting that thing together was a lot bigger than the parts. If you know what I'm saying, it's a lot bigger than the parts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was just one of those things. That's why putting a team together is not just getting all your, 4-star recruits or 5-star recruits. How does that fit into it? The Tim Tebow era is a good example of, things that really meshed well together, players that meshed well together. So,
this is when we talk about the memory thing. I just was thinking about it, how you had 2 senior running backs that were backups, and they were Gary Walker and Jerry Vincent. How can I remember that?
Yeah, that is amazing. That is amazing. And, and Jackie Ekdahl,
Yep.
who was a hell of a quarterback, who, out of Gainesville, who really expected to start, had every reason to expect to start, who was a really, really good quarterback. Although I will say, and he could throw the ball pretty well. I don't think he could throw it as well as John, but damn close. But he was a left-hander, and throwing the ball left-hander, it's a little harder to catch than a right-handed. I don't know why that is, but not that mattered at the time. But it showed that there was a lot of seniors, some of them that were expecting to do more that senior year, and were not, because sophomores started, even though there were still a lot of seniors in that starting lineup. But they never complained. They never complained. This thing, that was a tight team, an incredibly tight team, and that's why we have a reunion every 5 years.
Yep,
we still have that.
Jackie Ekdahl actually started the year after Spurrier, and that was going to be the big. Who was going to be the starter? It was him or Larry Rentz, and they kind of shared it.
Yeah, that's right. They went back and forth, and and he was a really good quarterback, and he had more scrambling ability than John did.
Yeah,
which is basically saying nothing, because John had no scrambling ability.
Well, speaking of which, we get to question number 3, and I wanted to ask you this: do you think about John Reeves every day? Yes, no, where, or maybe?
Yes.
I know you do. That was a softball question, because I think about him a lot too.
I owe John a lot. I even get choked up. You asking me, but I owe John a lot, and I think the world of him. And not only do I think the world of him, every single one of his teammates think the world of him. And so I miss him. He was nobody could throw it like him. He had a stupid laugh. We all laughed about. And I've never met anyone, anyone that loved football as much as John did. He basically, I'm paraphrasing it, but not too far. He told me that football was life, and that I know that's the way he felt. Every time I see Lane Kiffin, he's married to that relationship. Yeah. I think of John, and I wish his life had gone a little bit differently, and he'd become a great coach. But it didn't. But still, what he did for Florida at the time was superb.
And don't forget, he was a coach on the first team that won the SEC here too.
Yeah, that's right.
John Bob. That's what Spurrier used to call him, John Bob. He called everybody Bob. Carl Bob, John Bob, Law Dog.
And how lucky are we to have Steve Spurrier?
I get him on I have my podcast every Monday. You can't ask for anything better than that. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I and every other Gator love him, and really his offense was just superb. I would love to have played in that offense, it was I think has so many similarities to the Fred Pankos offense. And Fred Pankos was his quarterback coach.
He was, yeah.
And So, a lot of memories there. And but gosh, Steve and what he did for Florida, both as a player and as a coach, is unparalleled.
Carlos, you're unparalleled. You know that. You know I feel about you, and appreciate you for coming on the show. And take care of all those people over there with Tallahassee. They now think they're going to be good at football again, but I don't see it coming. But
Believe me, I harass him every time I get every chance I can possibly get, including wearing one of my Florida hats.
There you go.
Into downtown Tallahassee.
There you go. All right, we'll be back with more of another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after we take this break.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured,
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
and our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. It is time for us to get to segment 3, where we have a lot of fun with a lot of different things, starting with our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Hesser and Kipke, with over 50 years of combined legal experience in North and Central Florida, Hesser and Kipke is your place for bankruptcy, workers' compensation, and family law. Call or text Ken and Jennifer at 352-339-9920, Hesser and Kipke. Okay, let's start off with the news that came out yesterday that Golden Tempo, who we made a big deal about because it's Joe Calorio's connected to it, his wife, Michelle, her sister, and it's complicated, but anyway, the horse trained in Ocala, and her sister is one of the owners, and anyway, they've been going all over the wherever they have to go to watch this horse, but they won't be going to the Preakness because the horse is not running. And look, this happens a lot. The winner of the Derby is like, that was enough. That's all we needed to do. Now it'll come back for the Belmont, but it does take a lot of the intrigue. Like, why would you have to be a horse racing fan to watch the Preakness now? There's no chance of a Triple Crown winner, but you got to do what's best for the horse, I guess. I don't know if is the horse saying, "Hey, I don't really want to race again. Oh, I don't want to race, Wilbur." But I think they just don't want to wear it out. And don't look at this point. It just won the Derby, coming from last to first. They're going to put this thing out to stud as soon as possible and make a lot of money off of them. But anyway, the Golden Tempo will not be racing in the Preakness. So that's kind of bad news, but it's, you got to do what's right. All right, let's go to number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, which probably should be number 1 because Ted Turner passed away yesterday at 87. And somebody mentioned this, and I feel the same way. All of us Braves fans are sons of TBS. We are sons of what Turner created because, look, the Braves became America's team. There was no doubt about it. They were America's team because of what Ted Turner did, buying them, then putting them on the air, putting them on satellite. I cannot tell you. My every day I was about, all right, Braves start at 7:30, or actually usually at 7:05. The Braves start, and we're going to be. That's what I'm going to do. That's my game plan for tonight. Watch the Braves play. I remember we went to Atlanta to see Paul McCartney and Wings, bunch of friends. When we got there, the Braves replay was on, so we stayed up and watched that. They used to show the replay because they didn't have a lot of content back in the old days. But started TBS, started CNN, started TNT, the Turner Classic Movies, which is I watch a lot of. He's just won the World Cup, started the Goodwill, founder of the Goodwill Games. This guy had an amazing life. I got to meet him one time. He had the weirdest way of speaking. I think everybody knows that. He's an odd drawl. It was kind of the weirdest. I don't know if I've ever met anybody who talked quite like him. But when he talked, you listen. And I remember when he was a manager for one day. He was in the dugout in full uniform, which kind of looked stupid that he had to wear a uniform. And then the commissioner goes, "You can't do that. We don't let the owners be the managers." But he did it for one day. I think they lost too. But the Braves were the lovable losers back then. But Ted Turner, and then he married Jane Fonda. I mean, he's batting about 940. But I will miss Ted Turner. Somebody had this great line, because if you remember back when the Braves were playing, they would always start 5 minutes after the hour. And that the idea, the theory, which makes a lot of sense, is people are flipping around. They're watching something. They want to see what's on at 7 or at 8 or whatever. And then 5 minutes later, the Braves game's, oh, let's go watch the Braves game. I think it worked pretty well. So they said his funeral will start at 7:05, but that was a joke. But and again, and the Ted restaurants which I ate at many times. I loved the bison burger there. Everything he did. You talk about a guy who had to touch a goal. He really did, and certainly, if you didn't see the documentary on Jane Fonda, or he's part of that, you could tell his health was failing, and hey, he was old like me. But Ted Turner will miss you. You did so much, and you changed the way we watch sports. I believe that. Let's get number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is the news that also came out yesterday. Stephen Garcia, the former South Carolina quarterback, and we'll talk to Coach Spurrier about this Monday, has been diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, which is really sad. He's having to go. They got a GoFundMe start. He's going to cost him a fortune. You feel really bad. This guy had a big. Any South Carolina fan, he's either one of your favorite players or one of your least favorite, because he had a little villain quality. He got arrested a couple of times, but he also, in fact, somebody told me a story about him. He tried to sneak by the security guards at the Outback Bowl, and They said he couldn't, and he bummed a cigarette off them and sat there smoking this is the night before the game. Anyway, but he was a great player and really fun to watch. And of course, one of the great wins ever was that win over Alabama. He was the catalyst behind that. But anyway, just say some prayers for him. But when you have stage 4 colon cancer, you're in bad shape, and I know it's going to be tough for him. And I know he plans to fight like hell, but it's going to be rough. And just our prayers go out to Stephen Garcia. All right, let us move along. Let's get to a happier note. Let's go to our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the week. That is brought to you by our good friends at Gallo Car Wash, where we get all of our cars washed. In fact, I saw one pull up right here. I guess it's going to get washed. Gallo Car Wash is the place to go to get your car done. Okay, our sponge of the week is Florida Gymnastics. Now, last time we were talking about Florida Gymnastics, we were talking about how they finished 3rd of the NCAAs and just had a couple of mistakes. And boy, they were so close again. Jenny Rowland just keeps going and getting players. In fact, she got one yesterday. Ella Fine, another 5-star. They're piling up 5 stars. They've got 6 now. One of them will not participate next year. Dulcie Kaler is going to defer, like we've seen people do before, and get ready for the Olympics. So she won't be competing, but they're just piling up great athletes, great gymnasts, and that's why they're the sponge of the week. They are soaking them up. And again, of course, there are other people getting great gymnasts too. It's like with Florida, with recruiting football. I'm so happy with the good pops up there from Summerall, and I go, oh, who'd they get? And you see, okay, I don't know that much about recruiting, but it sounds interesting. Sounds like he's a good player. But then you have to realize also that Georgia got a big name, and Alabama got a big name, and Texas got a big name, and these are teams you're competing with. So I just hope I'm happy when everybody goes to other places, other conferences now. I have to root against the SEC in recruiting. Anyway, let's move along from our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week to this, that, and the other.
What do you want? This, that, and the other.
Okay, this, that, and the other brought to you by our good friends at Notary Joe's, the place to go. You don't have to go anywhere. He'll come right to your house and do your notary work. Notary Joe's, Joseph Newton, give him a call at 863-990-4884. It is brought to you by Dar Shakow Insurance for all of your home, auto, commercial, and life needs. And I know the Dars. Hopefully, John Dar Jr. gets that back straight now, because I'm sure he's going to be ready to play that new course when it opens. Now, that'll probably be a year or so. And it's brought to you by the Atlanta Hustle, the Southeast Ultimate Frisbee team. Season starts May 16th. You can go to their website and buy tickets if you want to go up there. If you're going up there maybe for baseball, and then you can go see the Atlanta Hustle as well playing Frisbee. All right, let's move to our this, that, and the other. And the this is Aaron Rodgers. You have to call him a diva, right? There's nothing you can say about him that doesn't reek of diva-ness. So now is he going to come back? Is he going to come back? Is he going to play? Or is he going to go to the booth? Or is he, Russell Wilson's talking about going to the booth. Why does Aaron Rodgers not go? Maybe they don't want him. I'm tired of this drama. I am tired of it. So then that is, of course, the Steelers put this on UFA on him, where they're saying, look, we can match anything you do. We want to move along here, though, and get this thing going. And we talked about this before. It's a seldom used rule, but it seemed like a smart deal for the Steelers to do. And then the other becomes what happened yesterday, where Kendrick Bourne, who just signed with the Arizona Cardinals, puts a tweet out and says, let me get the exact wording. We're waiting for you. We waiting for you. Yeah, there it is. We waiting for you. Okay, that makes a lot more sense than the Steelers. They've got some really nice weapons there. I don't know, and the coach LaFleur, is brother of the other LaFleur who you played for. They've got Hackett on their staff. That makes a lot of sense, to be honest with you. So maybe that's going to happen. You know what we'll know? Training camp, probably. It's just too much. Whatever. The fact that I'm even talking about Aaron Rodgers makes me sick. So it's too much. Anyway, that's this, that, and the other today. We appreciate our friends there for sponsoring it. And let's move along to other friends of ours that from BMI TeleMed. We appreciate BMI TeleMed, your weight loss specialists. They do a tremendous job. Just look at me, is all I can say. 727-383-1677. Achieve and maintain with BMI TeleMed. Tell them Pat Dooley sent you get a discount on your order. All right. So our smart move of the week is going to go, our BMI TeleMed smart move of the week is going to go to Aja Sivka. Now, you probably don't know who Aja Sivka is, right? I'm guessing you don't. I'm guessing you have not heard of her. Well, she is a basketball player who was the 10th pick of the draft in the WNBA draft. That's pretty cool. Pretty big deal. She comes from overseas somewhere. I don't know. I don't have that much deets on her. But she was the 10th pick in the draft. But she is not going to go to the draft. Instead, she's going to go play at Kentucky. They're putting together a pretty good roster. In fact, they've got Shaq's daughter up there. She transferred there. Well, the reason, though, it's a smart move is if you look at her last year over playing the pro leagues over in other parts of the world. I should know where she played. It was like Turkey or Hungary or somewhere. Anyway, whatever you look at it, they aren't very impressive. So the smart move is go to college, get NIL money, which I'm sure she's getting some, and a full scholarship. Work on your game a little more. The WNBA will be there. I mean, we wondered if they were going to be there after the contract negotiations, but it'll be there. Get better. Go play in the SEC, which is the best conference. Not the best teams, but the best conference. And I always say that because they got more good teams, but they don't have UConn, or they don't have some other really good teams. Anyway, but I do think it's a very smart move on her part. And I think this is part of what the world is becoming, or the world of college sports is becoming, where people say, hey, look, I can go to college, make some money in addition to trying to get an education. If I don't finish it, I can come back and get it. But if I do finish it, great. I get a degree too if things don't work out. And I get to get paid, and I can get better. And then I'll be more ready. And this is what a lot of student athletes are deciding to do, because college, it's not about getting the bag anymore, because the bag is already there. You're going to get a bag if you're a good enough player. Now, your bag is going to be filled to certain levels. If you're Tommy Houck, it's going to be one thing. If you're, what's her name again? Asia Sivka, it's another. But it's still a bag, and you're going to get some money. Anyway, that is our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. Let's move to our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. I was at Adams yesterday. I did the double dip, where I went to Big Mills and then I went to Adams. In both places, I noshed a little and picked up some stuff. In fact, I got some Adams hot sauce, the hot barbecue sauce. Got it in one of those container things and brought it home. Oh, I made chicken last night. My wife said, this is the best chicken I ever had. I said, yeah, because it's got Adams sauce on it. And we got coleslaw from there, and she loved the coleslaw. So it's a great place to go. Adams Rib. Our Gator of the Week is going to be, you've heard this name before, but Jossie Erickson. I mean, for her to be a first-round pick in I know that a lot of people don't watch a lot of pro softball. And to be honest with you, I don't. And I love softball. I love watching Florida play. I was watching all the SEC games yesterday. But people don't watch the league that they've got there. I don't even know what is the name of it? USL, something like that. Anyway, so she went in the first round, though, and that is still quite an achievement. As many great players there are in softball. First round pick to Erickson, and that is good news. And also wanted to mention this softball-wise, and I know Christine and Steve Wendig from Boss Art Realty are going to appreciate me mentioning softball again. Kelsey Stewart goes into the UF Hall of Fame. No big surprise there. Can't think of too many people more deserving than Kelsey Stewart, what she was able to do at Florida. One of the greats. She's in the argument for best player ever. I still think Lauren Hager wins that argument, but anyway. So that is our Adams Ribco Gators of the weekend. Jossie Erickson and Kelsey Stewart. All right, our Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Pick is up next. We're about ready to make a pull. So this is your last chance to qualify. Will be Monday, okay? And then we'll make a pull on Thursday. How about that? Is that good? So our Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Pick. Hey, we're just going to give you I was going to do some of the baseball and softball this weekend, but I tell you what, we'll give you Mother's Day. How about that? Mother's Day. Does Florida win in baseball on Mother's Day against Kentucky? I'm planning on going to the game, like I said. Well, I'm still not sure. So that'll be a very simple one. Very simple. Does Florida win or does Kentucky win? Now, game threes are like for Florida. They've been kind of shaky, but they won the last one. But hey, look, it's not a slam dunk, even though it's at home. All right, so that is our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick pick. Appreciate Kyle. In fact, I've been sending out some of the, he donates every month 20 subscriptions to my Patreon site, and been sending some of those out. And it's funny because I mentioned Mary Howard earlier. She was like, yeah, man, this was like the old days reading this stuff, like of all the different sports and everything. I go, yeah, that's what I like to do that. It's just me. All right. Finally, not finally, but penultimately, let's get to our Los Linderos Smooth Move of the Week, brought to you by our friends at Los Linderos Tequila. It is Urban Meyer. It's like an Urban Meyer special team play. Smooth, and it works. All right, our Smooth Move of the weekend belongs to Mark Pope. Mark Pope is not exactly killing it in the recruiting area. Brought in a bunch of transfers, didn't get them. Brought in a bunch of recruits, didn't get them. Lost out on the number one player, went to Kansas. And so he decided, I need to reach out to the Big Blue Nation. So what he did was he took a bunch of questions from fans. Now, I'm sure some of the questions were not used, like, why do you have a bald head, you idiot? I mean, stuff like that. I'm not saying somebody said that. But I watched a little bit of it, and it was actually pretty good. Now, he knew what the questions were, and so he's prepared for it, and he's got answers for it. But it's still not a bad idea I mean, you're not taking questions. Like, that's been eliminated from all these coaches shows, taking questions. Not all of them, but some of them, many of them. Especially when things get dicey. We don't want fans asking questions anymore. But in this case, you know you're going to get a lot of harsh questions, but you can take the ones that are reasonable and answer those. And that's pretty much what he did. So it was a smooth move by Mark Pope. All right. We got to wrap it up, as we always do, with our Swamp Restaurant games of the weekend. The Swamp Restaurant, where you go to watch all these games, big screen TVs, unbelievable food specials, unbelievable drink specials. Food is tremendous there. My man Ryan gets it done. Ryan and Kyle both. They get it done over there at the Swamp Restaurant. All right. Here's what we're going to give you. Baseball, Kentucky, 6:30 on the Plus on Friday, okay? 4 o'clock on the Plus on Saturday, and then noon, Sunday game, SEC Network. So maybe you've had brunch with the mother of your children or your mom, and you come home, you watch the game, then you go out to dinner with her. I think that's our plan. Although we're still thinking about going to the game. Anyway, that is the TV. Softball, again, they're getting ready to play right now, but I'll just tell you, if they win, they will play Friday. Assuming they win today, they will play Friday at 5 o'clock on ESPN. And then if they win that, Saturday in the championship game, 5 o'clock on ESPN. So that's good. That'll be fun to watch. NBA games, I'll give you the Saturday, Detroit at Cleveland, 3 o'clock on NBC. I'm not giving any more Prime Video games. I'm just not going to tell you. A lot of people don't get it. They're trying to get me to say it out loud so that more people want to get it. I don't, unless Prime Video wants to be a sponsor. I'm just not going to do it. And then you have OKC at LA Lakers, 8:30 on ABC. Sunday, the Knicks at Philadelphia, 3:30 on ABC. And then San Antonio at Minnesota, 7:30 on NBC. So that'll be pretty cool. The NHL's on TBS Saturday, on ESPN Sunday. There's multiple games there. I just don't have any skin in the game there, so it's hard for me to get excited about it. And then golf is going to start for the women on Monday, but you're not going to be able to find it. There's no TV that I've been able to find, not for regionals. When they get to the further on, they will. All right, that's going to do it. Want to thank Zach Rothrock for doing a great job, as he always does, as my producer. He's all over it. And thanks to Carlos for being on. We'll be back next week with Coach Spurrier on Monday and Eric Red on Thursday. And we're having fun, man. We're getting ready to hit we're coming up on what we like to call the dog days, which in Gainesville, it really is a dog days because it's always 100 degrees. And there aren't a lot of sports to watch, but hey, we'll still be doing a show, except for when I'm on that one little week of vacation. We're going to keep doing a show because we want to build it up to football season. Football talk this summer. We'll get a lot of football experts on to talk football and football. It's football. That's what it is. All right. So another duly noted, presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. I am Pat Dooley. I am deep. I am way back, and I am out of here.